just tell me a little bit about your life, and you can start with your parents. Give me a little information. You were talking about your dad earlier.
Well, I was conceived in Detroit, Illinois. My father, Edgar, or Ed, was a barber, and he met my mother when she came in to have her hair done. She wore it in a bob, which is pretty short, cut, popular back in those days. They got married, and they had my brother John in November of 20, must have been 28. He was 6 years older than me.
Okay.
I was conceived in Detroit, but before I was born, they moved to California, Southern California, where my mother's cousin Norman.
Okay, you have got to stop.
I never heard very much about it, and I never met. Oh, or was it my dad's cousin Norman? My dad had a cousin Norman. Huh? Maybe it was my dad's cousin Norman. Had gotten my dad a job. It was probably at Paramount Studios as a grip.
Oh, interesting. Did your dad also do barbarism in LA? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, he was a real barbarian. No, a barber.
Barber. Oh, is he a barber in LA?
He only went. He'd go back to barbering.
Barbarism. Barbarism.
When the studios were on strike.
Interesting.
He was in a union. He's always in a union, and is fairly often the unions went on strike. And he would go to barbering, and he usually worked 2 jobs. Usually when he was working like at the studio, he started out at working for Paramount as a grip, which is basically a carpenter building sets. And then he got a job, I don't know how he did it, but he got a job at Technicolor. And he sat in a dark room, and it was hot, and they processed film for Technicolor movies.
Huh.
And it was hot, hard work, and sweaty work.
Not glamorous.
Not glamorous. And it seemed like he often worked a graveyard shift, or at least a swing shift. And usually he had a second job as a janitor. And places would hire him to come in and clean their places at night.
So
and he often took us with him. He's probably John and me, and I don't know, go to help him clean these places.
So you pitched in?
Yeah.
Okay. Did your mom work?
I learned how to. No, my mom never worked.
She was stay at home.
She was a mom. She was a housewife.
Yeah. And they didn't get along?
They didn't get along. They didn't like each other. I don't know why they stayed together. I guess because the divorce wasn't common then. My grandmother was divorced, my mother's mother. Should talk about her.
Really?
She was an interesting character. Anyway, my dad, we moved to Hollywood. So anyway, we moved to Hollywood, California. And I grew up in Hollywood. Went to Hollywood High School. Used to go hiking in the Hollywood Hills. I was made to join the Boy Scouts.
You were forced?
Yeah, my brother had been a Boy Scout, and he became an Eagle Scout, which is the very highest thing you can be in Boy Scouts.
You didn't like the Boy Scouts?
I didn't like the Boy Scouts.
How come?
I don't know. Because I had to do
it. Long line of rebels. Which of your parents did you get along with more?
Well, there was no getting along with my dad because he wasn't around very much. And when he was around, he tended go off by himself or something. I'm sure there were times when we had some fun with my dad, going on a picnic or something. He'd kind of let his hair down or his guard down or something. He was of French descent. His parents were both French, and they had migrated to northern Michigan from Canada, Quebec, and they ended up in a little town in northern Michigan called. There were two. One was Lake Leelanau, and the other one was Leland, Michigan. I think they're pretty close together. I think Leelanau might have been a resort place for my grandfather on that side sold ice cream or something when he wasn't drunk.
Mopsy.
My dad was orphaned at the age of 7 and went into a Catholic orphanage, which warped him pretty badly. He hated nuns all of his life. His favorite piece of music was Ave Maria. He was a depressed, withdrawn guy. We never saw much of him, and like I say, he wasn't around much. And in probably about 1953, he committed suicide.
How old were you?
I was just out of high school. I was like 18.
Wow.
He did it in the parking lot at Paramount at Technicolor, student Technicolor.
Wow, that's sort of a statement.
He ran a hose from the exhaust into the car, closed the windows,
Wow.
ran the engine until he was dead.
Wow.
I guess they found him the next morning.
And your mom, so you guys you were all kind of leaving home, and her husband, your
Well, I
dad.
was still living at home. John was married and had moved out. Tony was in high school, I guess. It was kind of weird, actually. I was at work at an Oldsmobile dealership where I rode a 3-wheel motorcycle. I delivered cars to customers. We'd service their car, and then I hitched my 3-wheel motorcycle to the back bumper and drive the car to the person's home and leave it there, and then ride the motorcycle back to the Oldsmobile dealership in Hollywood. Anyway, I was there at work one day, and I got a phone call that I should go home. So I knew it was something serious. So I went home and I got the word that my dad was dead.
Wow. That must.
My immediate feeling was relief. Like the huge weight had been lifted off of me.
Because you'd been living with.
He was such a dark cloud.
Yeah.
He's just this dark cloud.
Yeah. What about for the rest of the family, you think?
My mother blossomed.
Really?
After he died.
Wow.
She blossomed.
Wow.
Weird.
So it was a weight off of maybe.
I don't know how. I think Tony maybe took it harder than anybody else. I never talked to John about it. His reaction had been.
You and John weren't that close?
Fairly close. Just never talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever acknowledged it to anybody before. Probably to Melinda, but
I didn't know until Melinda told me.
That I felt relieved.
No, that your dad had committed suicide.
Oh, that he committed suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were just out of high school, living at home.
Yep. We lived on Beechwood Drive. just under the Hollywood sign.
Oh, wow.
Sort of under the Hollywood sign.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Did you continue to live in LA for?
I lived in LA for quite a while. I went to Hollywood High School. When I got my driver's license, not too long after I got my driver's license, when I was 16, a buddy of mine was working at a liquor store on Hollywood Boulevard. And he was leaving. He had something else to go do. They needed a delivery boy. So I went up and applied for it, and I got this job. It was the coolest job a high school kid ever had.
Why?
Well, when you're not delivering liquor, there's nothing to do, so you just kind of hang around and talk to the other guys who were working there, the other guys who were old enough to sell booze. And I liked both of them. They were both really funny characters. We always got along really good. And I don't know, you'd see pretty girls walking by, and then somebody call in and wanted some liquor delivered. And
Low stress job.
yeah, I'd go out and jump in a little Austin panel truck it was, and deliver the liquor to these people. And I'd usually get a tip, usually get a quarter tip.
That went somewhere back then.
I guess I was probably making minimum wage. I don't know what it was back then.
So how'd you end up in Northern California?
Well, let's see. After I got out of high school, I just decided I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't like school, and I didn't want to go to school. I thought I'd just get a job, make money, and be good. Well, I started getting jobs, and I got a job one day at Lockheed Aircraft Corporation, and worked assembling parts for airplanes. And it was the most horrible, boring job I could imagine. And every day when I'd go down to take a leak or wherever, there was something I had to go downstairs and walk someplace to do something. And I think it was take a leak, I don't know. It seemed like it was a long way away, but anyway, I'd see this old man sitting at this machine, and every day he was doing the same thing. He'd put the part in, pull the lever down, put the part aside, get another part, stick it in there, and pull the lever down, take it out, put it on, and he was doing that all day, and I could tell he'd been doing it for fucking years. I gotta get out of here. That was when I decided, I think, that I needed to go back to college, make something of myself. So I enrolled at LA City College, and I decided I would be an engineer. So I enrolled in engineering classes and joined the Associated Engineers, which was kind of a little, almost kind of quasi-fraternity of engineering students. And so I was taking all these engineering courses. And then one time, I'd been going like maybe a year, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. The Associated Engineers had a party with the dental assistants students. The engineers were all men and the dental assistants were all girls. So we had this party, and that's where I met Patricia Jean Eisenhower, who became my first wife.
Is that Dina's mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pat.
How old were you?
19.
Oh my.
20, something
Wow. Getting married young.
Well, yeah. I got corralled.
Oh.
Boy, she had her hooks out. She wanted a husband, and she wanted one bad.
How long did that last?
Uh, I used to remember. So we got married when I was still in school, and she worked as a dental assistant, and I worked for an outfit that made aircraft marking decals, Airmark, and I was a layout artist and draftsman making decals. That was kind of a cool job. I really liked the guys I worked with. It's nice when you have nice co-workers.
That is true. So did you stay in school and get your engineering degree?
No, I changed degrees. I decided engineering. I wasn't cut out for engineering. I couldn't understand any of that advanced math and shit like that. So I went over to psychology.
I didn't know that.
Which seemed a lot easier. And I decided what I was going to do with my psych degree was become a social worker.
I had no idea about this.
I've gone through some reincarnations.
Like father, like daughter, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to be a psychiatric social worker.
So what happened?
Do therapy or something. What happened?
Did you get your degree?
I got my bachelor's.
And you were married.
And I was married to Pat.
And you had a daughter.
And we had Dina. And we rented an apartment in a big complex in Santa Monica. And I got a job at System Development Corporation. My last semester at UCLA, I had this professor who was sort of on loan from System Development Corporation. And I'd done really well in his class. I got an A, which I didn't always get. And he liked me. So when I got out of college, I had to go looking for a job. I couldn't keep working for Airmark. And he was working at SDC, so I went over and I applied for a job at SDC and gave him as a reference. Next thing you know, there I was, a human factors specialist.
What's that?
At System Development Corporation. It was anybody with a degree in the social sciences.
Mm.
They had psychologists, they had sociologists, probably had some anthropologists. And we were doing human factors.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
It's kind of taking into account the human side of a system. They're starting to talk about systems. Computers, they had computers. Computers were like a pretty new thing. They were an offshoot of the Rand Corporation. You heard of the Rand Corporation? Mm-mm. They're pretty famous. RAND stands for Research and Development, and they do a lot of research. I think it's mostly in the social sciences. I'm not sure. For the government.
Oh.
They're like a big think tank. They're like the think tank, really.
The man.
Google Rand Corporation.
Okay. Sounds familiar. So
anyway, I worked there. I ended up, we had a human factors laboratory, and my first job was I was just a member of the TOR team, TOR, training, observation, recording, something, I don't know. Anyway, we were trying various methods of training these guys who were doing sort of a simulated air defense job. Our laboratory subjects, who were mostly students, seemed like. And we would sit on the observation deck behind one-way glass and watch them and take notes on what they were doing. Because they had to process this data through the system.
Interesting.
And I always thought it was kind of horseshit, but
Did they know you were there watching them?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Huh. So here you are. You're living in Santa Monica.
living in Santa Monica.
You graduated from UCLA. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And
In
you
1958.
Okay. You had
Graduated from Hollywood High School in 1952.
so you're a husband and a father,
Yes.
but you're not so happy in your marriage.
No, I hate my marriage.
You just didn't get along.
Yeah, she's like one of the most boring people in the world. She just wanted. I developed this hatred of television because she just wanted to sit home and watch I Love Lucy and all this crap. And Jesus, this shit's really boring.
Just all the time.
Yeah.
And you were
night.
young.
Every fucking night. Yeah. She didn't like sex.
Sounds pretty bad.
And
And you were still pretty young.
it stunk.
Yeah. So you ended up getting divorced, or?
Yeah, one night after work at SDC, this buddy of mine, Gary Dean, invited me to stop by his apartment on the way home and have a drink with him. So I did, and we had a drink, and then I went home. And when I got home, Pat was irate. Where have you been? I stopped at Gary's, had a drink. And she just hit the ceiling. She was just so livid. It was so evil what I had done. I said, well, what do you want to do about it? She says, what do you want to do about it? And I said, let's get a divorce. And I walked out, packed some stuff, and went over to Gary's.
I'm moving in, Gary.
I'm moving in,
You invited
Gary.
me for a drink. Now I'm moving in because it's your fault. All right. So
He
now
was glad to have me. He was basically
he's a bachelor.
an overgrown fraternity boy.
So now you're single, but you still have a divorce to go through and a child.
You have to go through, and I have to pay alimony and child support and work out visitation with Dina and all that crap. And they always lived really far. I lived at the beach, and they lived like in the San Fernando Valley, so it was like hours away across Los Angeles.
So what happened that you lost contact with them and became a hippie?
Well, I was working at SDC. Seems to me I worked there for 8 years. I started like 58 or 59. Yeah, and 8 would be, what, 67, yeah.
Okay.
That's about right. So, most of the time there I was pretty bored with my job. I had this job for a long time where this guy's assistant who didn't need an assistant. There was never anything to do. He covered all the bases, and I could never figure out what to do. I just sat around my office. I came to really hate that place. So anyway, first thing that happened was there was the guys I worked with in the lab. Some of them were really cool, and the very coolest guy was Russ Ellis. And Russ was a sociology major who graduated from UCLA when I did. He was black. He was really smart and really cool, and we got to be pretty good friends. And so then one time we were doing something together, and hey, I want to smoke some marijuana. Oh, yeah, I would like to smoke some marijuana. I'm hoping to kind of wanted to smoke some marijuana. And so he brought out some marijuana, and we smoked it. But I didn't get stoned.
Didn't get stoned, no.
Oh no. You didn't have that experience when you first
I don't know. The first time I smoked, I was a kid, so God knows.
Right. I was 31 or 30. So anyway, that was a bust. But anyway, then I met this woman, Anita. She was a Jewess from New York, grew up in Brooklyn, and she was a kindergarten teacher in LA. And she had an apartment on the Hollywood freeway. She had a balcony that was like from here to the street, like the street was the Hollywood freeway. Maybe a little closer than that. And it was like this really shitty part of town. But she was from New York, so she thought it was all cool. Everything in LA was great to her. Anyway, where was I going with it?
Well, you were kind of saying you was your first experience with marijuana, but you must have not stopped there.
I didn't stop there. I met Anita, see, and then Anita smoked marijuana. She didn't smoke it regularly, but if it was available, she'd smoke. She had smoked it. So we became a thing, and she got some marijuana, and we were gonna go on this camping trip to Big Sur. And she got some marijuana to take, so we go on our camping trip, and we're sitting out in the woods, and we got our nice campfire going. Bring out the marijuana, roll some joints, start smoking. She says, "Now you're gonna smoke, now you get stoned." So I'm smoking, and the next thing I know, I see these guys in my head. I have this vision of these guys coming through the woods with torches. It's like this mob of rednecks with torches coming to get us because we're smoking marijuana in the woods.
They smelt it?
I don't know. They were only here.
Oh, they were in your head.
They were in my head.
You were hallucinating.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I was like...
Melinda, Tashina's up there.
Up where?
On the counter. Sorry.
Yeah, so I finally got stoned.
And very stoned, it sounds like.
Pretty stoned, I guess, yeah. Yeah. From then on, it was all good.
So you liked the experience of the rednecks?
Marijuana changed my life. It changed my life. And it's still my friend. So I started getting stoned all the time. And one of the first things I did was quit therapy. I've been in therapy, I don't know, some years, I don't know, 3-4 years. And I started smoking marijuana. I didn't need to be in therapy anymore. I just quit. And started hanging out with other people who were smoking marijuana. Then the hippie thing kind of came along. It was probably already kind of getting started. That was in like 67 maybe. Probably 66 is when I started smoking. I was 31, I remember that. So 34 and 31 is 65, right?
Oh, yeah. You were young. You were in the beginning of the movement, kind of. Or maybe people were smoking.
No, I'd always had this thing for the beatniks and the darker side of things. Anita was kind of a beatnik. She'd hung out in the coffee houses and smoked weed. She was really smart, fun. She liked to fuck.
So that worked out for a while.
Yeah.
So now you're a stoner.
So now I'm a stoner, and I'm still working at SDC. And what comes next? Oh, I know what comes next. This buddy of mine at SDC, he's having a problem with alcohol. He's getting drunk too much. So somehow he gets onto this program where he goes up to a hospital in Vancouver, British Columbia. Hollywood Hospital, of all places. And they give him LSD
To treat his
to
alcoholism.
treat his alcoholism.
And this was government sanctioned? Or, I mean,
It was legal
it was
in
legal.
Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The good old days.
Yeah. So I made an appointment to go up there, and I just wanted to do it. You know, wanted to take
Did you
LSD.
have to tell them you had a problem?
I don't think so. I just wanted to do. It was for self-discovery or something. I probably told them. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, they were happy to take my money, I guess. And so I go up to Vancouver. I can't remember now if I quit my job. Jesus, I may have already quit my job. I can't remember when I quit my job. What those circumstances were.
And did you do LSD in the hospital?
That the first time I did it, yeah, I did it
In an observation room? Or
well, okay, it's a whole story. So I go up to Hollywood Hospital and I check in, and I'm supposed to do it like the next day, I guess. And this guy comes by, and he's the guy who's going to be my guide, or he's going to sit with me
okay.
during this experience. So he kind of tells me what to expect. And so I say, would it be okay if I smoke some marijuana tonight? I love to smoke marijuana. He goes, oh no, that'd be fine. He says, as a matter of fact, my friend and I, we really like to smoke marijuana. Do you have enough you could share some? So he invites me over to his place, and he and his girlfriend and his buddy is there. I don't remember if his buddy had a girlfriend or not. And we all sat around and smoked dope and got stoned. And this guy Phil, he goes all friggin' mystical on us. Starts talking all this stuff, and boy, it's really turning my head. Is very spiritual kind. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I was pretty taken by it. So anyway, then I go back to the hospital and I spend the night and get up in the morning and I go into the room there, and they have to lie on a couch with a blindfold on, and I forget how they administer it. Probably just did orally. It was psilocybin and LSD, I think.
Wow.
But then you had to lie down on the couch, and then first go in there. Hey, boy, Phil, last night he's going. Shh. You can't talk about this mind-bending experience that I had last night. So I go into this thing with like zip my lip. Shit. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it much. I remember having these visions of these marching Nazi ducks.
Huh.
Ducks in uniform, they were marching like goose stepping. I don't know why they were Nazi ducks.
Ducks that were goose stepping.
Yeah, duck stepping.
So it wasn't a great first
It
experience.
wasn't a great first experience, but I thought, well, if I hadn't been blindfolded, I hadn't been able to open my mouth and say anything.
And if you hadn't been in a hospital.
Yeah, it could have been fun. So then I just started taking LSD,
Back home?
eating mushrooms.
Back in LA?
Yeah. So then how did I get out of LA? Jesus. At some point, I don't know, I decided to quit my job and become a hippie. And my friend Bob Carden, who, Bobby Joe he was a probation officer in Santa Monica. I think he had a degree in psych or something. I don't even know how we met. And then had another friend, Henry Gansler, who was he was a psychologist. I can't remember if he was doing psychotherapy and how he was a psychologist, but we all decided that we were going to go. We were reading the United Farm catalog, and it had all these wonderful sounding places for sale back like in Vermont and points east. So we decided that the thing was to do is to go back there and buy us a farm and establish a commune. So we hopped in my Bob and I rode in my VW van, the Ganslers followed behind in their little car, and we set out across the country. I don't remember much in between LA and, oh, I know, we stopped in Denver and we saw Timothy Leary. Turn on, tune in, drop out, turn on, tune in, drop out.
Nice.
He said, yeah, we're doing the right thing. So we got back there to the East Coast and we started trying to look at these places that were shown in the United Farm catalog, and it was all bullshit. There wasn't a thing there that was anything like what they were advertising. And everything, of course, cost a hell of a lot more money than they were showing. So we hung out in New York for a little while. Where did we stay back there? I don't recall. Anyway, eventually went back to California, and I put all my stuff in storage in a garage in Santa Monica. So I guess I continued to pay the rent on that. I must have some money saved. And Bob Carden got a job at this place called Bridge Mountain Foundation in Santa Cruz County. He thought it was pretty cool. And I decided I really wanted to get out of LA. LA was really shits. So I hopped in my VW van, my camper van, and took off for points north. Picked up hitchhikers along the way and got them stoned.
Sounds like a pretty good adventure.
It was quite the adventure. And I got the Bridge Mountain Foundation, and it was a bunch of, I don't know, halfway hippie people. I don't know, all living in this or hanging out at this place anyway. And it was kind of a spiritual retreat thing, and they would have yogas come in, and they would have, yoga classes, I guess. And it was a fun place to hang out for a while, and everybody there got stoned. And I ended up, I wonder how that worked. I ended up living in this little trailer that belonged to the father of the woman who managed Bridge Mountain. And he was kind of a cranky old fart, and as long as I stayed out of his sight, wasn't too bad living in his little trailer. And then I would put in time down at Bridge Mountain doing stuff, I don't know, probably cleaning or whatever needed doing. Got to hang out there. I might have been eating there. I don't know if it was costing me any money or not. I can't remember if they served meals there. They must have, because it seemed like there were people living there. I don't know. anyway, that's where I met Pam. Pam was 19, I think, maybe. Just graduated from high school. And she was coming and hanging out at Bridge Mountain, smoking weed with all of us. So she and I became lovers. Her father was the ex-mayor of Santa Cruz.
He must have been thrilled.
He was, yeah, he was thrilled. Yeah. Her mother too. Her mother was a swimming instructor. They had a pool in their backyard, and her mother taught kids to swim. But they were okay. They didn't treat me bad, really.
So, where'd you go after that?
Okay, then I went, I got a job at running a campground for the University of California, Santa Cruz. They own some acreage in the woods in the San Lorenzo Valley. Really pretty spot. So Pam and I had this big tent with a bed, and we pretty much, we were camping out, but it was pretty easy. There was water, and there was a toilet close by, and showers and stuff. So we did that for a while, and then Pam ran off with a motorcycle outlaw who was camping out up the road. And so I guess I stayed there until they closed the campground down in the fall. I know. And then Bob Cardin was still around somewhere. He was living in Santa Cruz. I don't remember what he was doing. But I was at his house one day, and his brother came down from Black Bear with the woman he was with at the time, Rose Lee.
They were taking a jaunt off of the commune for a little bit.
Yeah, they were. I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, somehow I ended up with Rosie.
Those kind of days.
I don't remember exactly how that happened, but anyway, I went to Black Bear with Rosie.
About her sweeping.
Huh?
It was about how she swept.
How I swept.
How she swept?
It was how I swept,
Oh.
I think.
Okay, how you swept.
I don't remember what I was sweeping. What would I have been sweeping though?
It was like back at the Berkeley commune, and she liked the way you swept, so she took you with her to Black Bear, as I recall.
Maybe
Boy,
they needed more sweepers up there.
No, that didn't sound right. I was at Berkeley commune was after Black Bear.
Don't think so.
I know so. Autumn was there.
I was born on Black Bear, but I was probably 2 at the Berkeley commune.
Yeah.
Because I remember it.
The circus.
Yeah, I remember the brown door.
Yeah.
There's a round door, wasn't there, in the wall?
There was. Yeah, I think you're right. Wow. Remember it better than
Made
I
a big
did.
impression on my 2-year-old mind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe we were living in the brown house.
So Rosie
Well,
brought...
that's right. Well, that's right. Pam and I rented a house up in the San Lorenzo Valley it's on the Santa Cruz River. And it wasn't a very big house, but people started moving in with us. And pretty soon we were pretty full up. So we decided we needed a bigger house, and it was this sort of resort next door to us up the road. And they had a big old house. And the guy who managed that place offered us this house. It was huge, 2 stories. I don't know how many bedrooms. And I can't remember if we paid. We must have had paid some rent for it, but it wasn't much, it seemed like. And we moved in there, and we moved a bunch of more people. I guess I was the second commune. The first place we lived was the first commune.
And then you met Rosie and went to Black Bear?
Then I went to Rosie and went to Black Bear, yeah.
What was it like when you arrived at Black Bear? What was your impression?
Oh, I don't know. I think I was probably a little dismayed.
Because things were decrepit, or what?
Well, it was pretty primitive. They had firewood. They had houses. They had ways to keep warm. Yeah, I lived with Rosie in her cabin for a while, but we didn't last super long.
Did she remain a friend? Didn't you guys go visit her?
We visited her in Mexico. I think you were with us.
Yeah.
She wanted to keep you.
That's what you said. I was like, that would have been a different life.
She had this little boy she'd adopted, Apu, and she used to beat him with a broom because he wasn't sweeping the floor right. See, she really was somebody who could sweep the floor. He was like 3 years old or something.
Wow. Okay, so you're at Black Bear. You get there. You and Rosie don't last long, but you stayed on.
Yeah, I stayed on. I remember sleeping in the attic. Oh, yeah, in the attic of the big house. That's right. There were a bunch of us sleeping up there. Did I ever sleep anywhere else? Probably slept outside if the weather was good. I made a glider, a porch swing.
I know. I saw it years later even.
Did you see it?
It's still up there, I believe.
It's still there, huh?
Still in use.
Yeah, I made that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still on the porch.
Let's see, then after you were born.
How did you and my mom meet?
We were the leftovers.
That's what she said.
She
said you guys were the low people on the totem pole, on the socio,
right.
The social.
Everybody else was paired up and we were left.
That's kind of what she said, yeah.
Oh, well.
So it wasn't a love match.
No, never a love match. I don't think so, for either one of us.
And she said...
It produced you.
She said that she said something to you like, I'm ready to have a kid, or something along those lines, or that it wasn't completely unplanned in her mind, like she and you were like, all right, or something.
Yeah, I think I was ready to have a kid too.
Yeah.
Huh, I was.
Now, so then tell me about the night I was conceived.
I don't remember.
You said you were on acid and you thought you were the fire god.
Who said that? Your
You
mom?
did. I
When did I say
you
that?
told me that.
Huh?
I thought I'm pretty sure you told me that. Maybe my mom told me
That
that.
didn't ring any bells for me. I was on acid and I thought it was the fire god. I don't remember, man.
Could have been.
But I don't remember a lot of things these days.
It could have been. It would have been. Wouldn't it have been winter solstice?
So you were born.
I'm born on fall equinox, so it probably would have been winter solstice.
Oh, well, I'm counting backwards. September, August, July, June, May, April, March, February, January, December. More like
That's what I just said. I said winter
5,
solstice,
that's
which is
9.
December 21st.
What's that?
December 21st is winter solstice.
But you were born pretty close to fall equinox.
Yep. So 9 months.
So that's got to be, it should be 3 months between those things.
October, November, December.
And gestation takes 9 months.
Right. So it's
So I just counted back from
to December.
But I forget where I ended up.
You ended up in December, just like I was saying. I know it seems too close to September, but it's not. It's 3 months later. And it's... So I think it could have been...
It could have been winter equinox.
Winter solstice.
Winter
Yeah.
solstice.
Well, anyways, maybe my mom told me that. I thought she said you were on acid and you were
Could have
in
been
charge.
on acid.
You were in charge of the fire or something,
Charge.
and you thought you were the fire god.
I wonder if it was New Year's Eve or something. No, we would have been more likely to celebrate the equinox, the solstice.
All right. Well, so then my mom
Maybe
got
so.
pregnant.
And carried you,
Up there on Black Bear.
the bird.
Do you remember when I was born?
Yeah.
Do you remember the story?
No, I don't remember that so much. I'm sure I was there.
I think my mom told me, she said you weren't there. You were
Oh, I was in town.
You were working, you were doing some sort of seasonal harvest work because it was September. So you were on a farm and you were asleep in your sleeping bag in the field somewhere.
Oh, that
And
sounds
someone
right,
from Black
yeah.
Bear came, when my mom went into labor, someone from Black Bear took the one car or whatever and drove down and found you in the field asleep in your sleeping bag. And they got in your sleeping bag and you got out and went up to the...
And drove the car back.
And drove back to the ranch. I don't know. That's what I think that's the story my mom told
Well,
me.
that sounds completely possible.
And you got there
I
just
almost can remember that, yeah.
I think she said you got there just in time.
Could have been. I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
What I remember is dancing with you that night. You were born early in the morning, I think.
Yeah, I think 7 in the morning. Yeah.
And I remember they had a fire at night, and somebody must have been playing drums or something. And I danced with you around the fire.
Aw.
And I was so glad you were there.
Sounds wonderful. And then you guys must have left Black Bear and gone to the
Then we
circus.
left Black Bear. Neither one of us was having a good time at Black Bear, I think.
Yeah. And you went to the circus in Berkeley?
How did we end up at the circus? Your mom ended up at the circus first, I think, and I was living in Russ Ellis's garage. Russ was teaching at Berkeley. He was teaching sociology to architects, would-be architects, somehow.
So you and my mom must have been a little rocky.
Yeah, we were. I don't think we were. Somehow we weren't really together. I would have been at the circus. But you were at the circus.
Yeah, and you guys.
And I was going over there to see you.
Okay.
I don't remember why it ended up like that. I eventually ended up at the circus.
Mm-hmm. Well.
And then from the circus, did we go to Morgan? Then we went to Morgan Ranch. Shit.
Oh. So you and my mom you went to Morgan Ranch together. You must have, yeah.
Yeah, we were a couple then.
Do you remember how old I was? I must have been a baby. I don't remember Morgan Ranch at all.
I was thinking that I used to remember when your second birthday turned 2 at, was it at the circus or at Morgan Ranch? That's the question. I can't remember anymore.
It's weird because I do remember the circus, but I guess that was before Morgan Ranch, but it was just that damn round door. Really made an impression.
Yeah, Morgan Ranch, that's where you met Jenny Glazer.
Lifelong friend.
Her dad was the molester.
Well, we didn't know that then.
No.
Took a while to figure that out.
He didn't know it wasn't the right thing to do.
You think he didn't know it wasn't the right thing to do?
That's what he said.
Oh, that's what he said. Oh my God.
Come on, Joe.
So you were up there for a little while.
Up where?
At Morgan Ranch?
Just, well, you know, I don't think we spent a winter there.
So not much time.
No, we probably moved there in the spring and left in the fall. I don't know. I don't remember under what circumstances we left. We probably broke up or something.
I feel like I remember you guys breaking up in a city. That must have been Berkeley or San Francisco.
Did I ever live in San Francisco?
Maybe it was Berkeley.
The circus, but from the circus we went to Morgan Ranch.
And you didn't go back to...
Never went back to the circus. Where did I go after Morgan Ranch? Shit. I kind of stayed in that area.
Well,
on the Klamath River.
You lived in Syad Valley.
Yeah, I got rented that little house in Syad Valley.
Yeah.
Well, first must have come Dutch Creek, where I had those 2 little motel cabins.
Yeah, but you didn't, those motel cabins were when I was older. That was after you split up with Annie. You went back to Dutch Creek for a minute. Just not long, just for a little bit. You put those cabins up. But before that, you were in Syad Valley in that little house. That was our first place when I was the youngest.
Uh-huh.
And then
That's where I made your bunk bed.
That's where you made my bunk bed. And then there was a brief time that you and Annie lived at Dutch Creek outside. Remember you had all your furniture set up outside? It must have just been a summer.
I guess it was
with a bed and a dresser and everything, but just outside with mosquito netting.
Really?
Yeah. And then we had the other house on the Klamath River that was
at
the
Miller Gulch.
Yeah.
We had rabbits.
Yep. Yeah. And then
Leslie showed up.
And then from there it was to Wairika.
Yeah. Leslie showed up.
And then I think there was a brief stint where you and I went back to Dutch Creek after you broke up with Annie with those cabins, but they didn't work out because of the bugs.
Because of the box elders.
Because of the bugs.
So then I rented that apartment.
Exactly.
In Wairika.
Yeah. And then you met Melinda.
And I met Melinda,
yeah.
Playing volleyball.
Yeah. I was at my mom's when you met Melinda. I came back and you were like, I met this woman. She's got 4 kids. Welcome to your 4 siblings.
Yeah.
Carissa was 1.
Yep.
And Todd and Mark were teenagers.
Corey was like 3.
Yep. Just a little one. Yep. And she had that house that was on the same street as the next house you guys moved into that was a little bigger.
We bought that house.
You did?
Yeah.
You owned that house on Minor Street?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And then you must have sold it to move to San Diego.
Yeah.
And it's history from there.
You know it all from there.
From there, I know most of it.
Probably know it better than I do.
That was pretty good. Tell me a little bit. You mentioned real quick your grandmother on your mom's side.
Oh yeah, Jessie Maud Crowder. She came, I think she was born, my mother was born in a little town in Illinois called Nokomis.
And what was your mother's ancestry? Your dad was French. Your mom was
You know, I don't know much about it. I probably got it written
on
down
the
somewhere,
ancestry.
but it doesn't jump. She's pretty mongrelized.
What was your mom's name? Her full name?
Hazel Amy.
Grant?
Well, Grant was her married name. Crowder was her
Crowder.
maiden name.
Hazel Amy Crowder?
Uh-huh.
And your dad was he Edgar?
Edgar Arthur Grant.
Okay. And what was your mom's, your grandmother's?
My mother's mother was Jessie Maud Crowder, and she was born Jessie Maud Ransdell. R-A-N-S-D-A-L-L.
R-A-N-S-D?
R-A-N-S-D-A-L-L. Maybe I can't remember
one or two L's. And what was, you were saying she was an interesting person.
Oh, her husband's name was Sterling Price Crowder.
Was that your mom's dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were divorced.
Which was...
I never met him and never heard anything about him, really.
That was unusual back
But I saw their divorce decree once, and it said that he was a scoundrel.
Oh. She wasn't putting up with that.
No.
Was she the one who was the belle of the ball?
Belle of Gooseneck.
Gooseneck, where's that?
Beats me.
Oh.
I think it must have been somewhere around Nokomis.
What was the story?
That's what some people called her, I guess.
Who she told you that?
Yeah.
Was she old when she said that?
Yeah.
And she said I was the belle of Gooseneck?
Yeah.
So the Miss Popularity.
I guess, yeah. I guess she'd been pretty when she was young.
We've got pretty good genes in our family. We don't do too bad in the looks.
Ransdell sounds like an English name, maybe.
Any other little tidbits you want to include?
My mother was an anti-Semite. Until sometime in the 50s, maybe. She went across the street and got into a conversation with our neighbor, Billy Walters. And when she came back from having her conversation with Billy Walters, she was no longer an anti-Semite. He talked her out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she relate any of the conversation?
No, she never did.
And how did you know she was no longer an anti-Semite?
I don't know. She changed her tune.
She just changed her tune.
Yeah.
Wow. How interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and it's kind of I mean, even at the time, I was pretty young, and I had a hard time believing it. What? Billy Walters is a charming guy, I guess. He's a salesman, I think.
Sounds like he knew how to reach people.
I guess.
Yeah.
He developed this product called apple concentrate, and he had big barrels full of this stuff, and he was trying to market it and make a fortune, I think. It never caught on.
Well, they kind of have it now. I mean, when you get frozen apple juice, right?
Well, this was thick, kind of syrupy stuff.
Huh.
Red.
Sounds interesting.
He claimed it had all these health benefits.
He was ahead of his time, it sounds like. It would, if he'd waited 20 years, it would have caught on like
Maybe
wildfire.
Maybe so.
Like apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other little tidbits?
always had kind of an affinity for Jews. For some reason. A lot of my friends have been Jews. Anita was Jewish. Pearl was Jewish.
Pearl, who's Pearl?
She was a girlfriend I had while I was working at SDC. Pearl Dweck.
My mom was Jewish.
Mom was Jewish.
You had some Jewish friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
What do you attribute that to? Do you think it's the intellectualism or?
No idea. I don't know.
I have a bit of an affinity for Jews. I just like Jewish people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warm.
Thoughtful.
Yeah, my best friend and we didn't go to the same high school. We were in the Sea Scouts together. Well, I didn't talk to you about the Sea Scouts. When I was about 16, 17, maybe, I'm not sure. Brother John had a temporary thing where he was the mate of the Sea Scout ship. We both belonged to the same Boy Scout troop, and that was Troop 10 in Los Angeles. And they were a big troop. A lot of moneyed people had their boys in that troop. And so, I don't know why I'm talking about that.
You were talking about the Sea Scouts?
No, this is the Boy Scouts. And this is the Boy Scout troop that I had to join and hang out with and go to camp with and stuff. And I never liked it much. So as soon as I could, I got out of the Boy Scouts. And then John, as I told you, he became an Eagle Scout, the very highest thing you could be in a Boy Scout. And then he became a Sea Scout. And then later on, when he was an adult and he wasn't in the Sea Scouts anymore, the Sea Scout ship, the Boy Scout troop and a Sea Scout ship, Ship 10 lost its mate, who's kind of like the assistant scoutmaster. There's a skipper and the mate, and they lost the mate. So John volunteered to be acting mate until they could find somebody else. So one night he's going off to a Sea Scout meeting, and my friend Chris something, I don't remember his last name, he was over at the house, and John would say, "Hey John, where are you going?" "I'm going to a Sea Scout meeting." Krista said, "Oh, let's go to the Sea Scout meeting." I said, "No, I don't want to go any fucking Sea Scout meeting." "Oh, come on, let's go." "Oh, all right." So we go, John, to the Sea Scout meeting. Oh, I ended up joining the Sea Scouts.
That night?
Love it. Well, not right away, but I really liked it, and I liked the guys. And I ended up joining the Sea Scouts. And then the Sea Scouts became my main social group for the rest of high school. At least a big part of it. We went camping together and all kinds of stuff. And my best friend was with Paul Alturo, was one of the Sea Scouts, and he was Jewish. And yeah, I loved the Sea Scouts. Had a great time. One time we went camping someplace, and we all bought pipes and tobacco, smoking pipes.
A precursor
Yeah.
to what was to come.
Yeah, good times. You probably don't know about V. She was my second wife.
I don't think I do. She got left out of the story of the chronology.
She had long blonde hair, and she'd been a showgirl dancer, worked in Las Vegas. And I think she'd probably been molested by her father. She had a weird relationship with her father. We were married for like 2 years. We had a cool little apartment in Santa Monica with a fireplace in the bedroom and a clawfoot bathtub and a toilet with a tank up above, mounted up high.
Why didn't it last?
I think she was damaged goods.
Yeah.
And she didn't like sex. She pretended she did for a while, and then it became pretty clear to me that she wasn't interested. I like sex. Felt like sex was important.
Sounds like she probably had some past trauma.
I think her father molested her.
Yeah.
After we broke up, she started, I think maybe she was living with this black guy in LA. And why did she do that? She drove out to her father's in Barstow. He lived in Barstow. She drove out there and told him, I don't know if she took this black guy with her or just told him about him or something. He went nuts. And there was some weird drama around all of that. God.
So she was like using her current partner to get back at her dad?
Yeah.
Because he was bigoted.
I guess so, yeah, probably.
Well,
Then I decided I was never going to get married again. That was plenty of getting married.
little did you know.
Little did I know.
So you were married twice.
Uh-huh.
And then you spent a long time not married.
Yeah.
But you were still in relationships.
Yeah, I had lovers.
Yeah. I mean, you and Annie were together for several years, right?
Yeah.
And then you met Melinda. It was a practical
And
slash.
that was it.
That was it. Game over. You guys were together for a little while, and then you realized it was time to tie the knot.
We were together for 7 years. Then we wanted to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right, we did. Yeah, we wanted to buy a house. So
But wait.
we thought if we got married, maybe Jack and Tony would loan us some money.
But wait a minute. You said you owned the house on Minor Street.
Yeah, we did. We owned the house on Minor Street, right? Not in there anymore.
She's not in there. I don't think you
Pretty
did.
sure we owned that house.
I thought we rented that house.
No,
We'll have to ask
we
Melinda.
built a hearth.
You
Put in a
built
wood
that
s-
hearth?
Yeah.
Well, we'll ask Melinda, but
Put in a wood stove.
so you must have already owned a house then.
Melinda she owned the land in the manufactured home out there in Bogus, where she lived with Ken. And maybe she sold that and used that money to buy that house on Minor Street. I don't remember. I guess we didn't get enough when we sold it to buy a house in San Diego because we
Probably
rented
not.
down there
Yeah.
for a while.
All right. Well, that was pretty comprehensive catching up there.
There you go, yeah.
All right. Thank you. How'd that feel traipsing down memory lane?
It's kind of fun.
Memories are still there?
Some of them,
Yeah. Well, what aren't there, I wouldn't know, I guess.
yeah. I wouldn't either. Ask Melinda.
She might know, but sometimes she makes up your memories for you. She puts her own little twist on them.
You think so?
All right. Thank you.